Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the Michigan Trail Report. I am your host, Tom Funk, author of 50 Hikes in Michigan's Upper Peninsula and 50 Hikes on the North Country Trail. How you guys doing today? Well, I am so glad that I am back doing this podcast. I was doing this last year, and there were some changes in my life that made it rather difficult to put out a weekly podcast on Michigan trails. Believe it or not, there is a little bit of time that goes into putting one of these together. So I'm very glad that we're able to bring it back pretty much in the same format we had a year ago. So let's get underway. This podcast is brought to you by Nortive 8, makers of quality hiking boots. I've been using them for about a year now, and so far so good. I am pleasantly surprised how comfortable they are. That's kind of nice when you're hiking, having comfortable feet. So check them out. Nortive 8, that's Nortiv, the number 8.com. All right, how does this work? Well, as a reminder, I have like 30 different topics that we can talk about, and I'll rotate in a chunk of them into each podcast. There'll be some I'll hit every week, and others we'll hear every once in a while. So I think I have about 5 or 6 that are going to be part of every show. For example, some of you may remember the ever so popular Permit Report. That will always be part of the show and will be at the end of the podcast. So stay tuned for that. So are you ready? Let's get this thing started. All right. So I want to thank my friend Adam Main. He has provided the music to us, and Adam is a artist that lives in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I've known him for a long time. All right, Adam, this is for you. Thank you very much for helping me out. So, one of the things that I always like to talk about is, a hike of the week. And so let's kick it off with the hike of the week. And this will be from a state park, a county park, but this week it's going to be from a land conservancy, which is Saul Lake Bog, which is owned by the Land Conservancy of West Michigan. Saul Lake Bog is 123 acres and only 25 minutes from Grand Rapids. If you plug it into the GPS or want to write it on the dust in your dashboard, 10471 6 Mile Road, Rockford, Michigan, and you'll drive up what appears to be a long private drive. And it's okay, just keep going until it ends at a gate or a parking lot. And it'll be along a restored prairie. And if you arrive at the right time of year, there'll be an explosion of wildflowers, usually in early summer, before the grasses become too tall. So Salt Lake Bog has about 1.8 miles worth of trails, and it brings you through the prairie and into woods along the bog, but it does not bring you into the bog. So this preserve permanently protects Salt Lake Bog. And it's considered one of the most biodiverse bogs in Michigan, having more than 90 confirmed plant species, which is a pretty decent amount because bogs typically don't have a lot of different types of plants because it's so harsh to live in with all the acidic water and everything. So, you're going to see birds, insects, other wildlife, and you're going to see a restored prairie, a native tallgrass prairie. So that's pretty cool. Lots of tall grasses and wildflowers there. So it is part of a long-term ecological restoration project. A lot of my hikes that I've been doing in Michigan in the past couple of years have been in preserves that had habitat projects going on. So this is yet another one. So they use prescribed fire there. They go out there and they knock back invasive species, things like that. So if you ever go out there, don't be surprised if you run into a trail maintenance crew or a habitat crew there. So if you go to my YouTube channel, Tom's Worldly Adventures, there you'll find a short video of a visit I made to the preserve about a year ago this time. All right, another section. I think this may be new. I'm calling this hiker trash. Yeah, people like to make fun of hikers and things like that, the way we live our lives and dress and all that. But hey, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing here. What we're doing with hiker trash is celebrating accomplishments of different hikers and backpackers. So, congratulations goes out to Ethan Shooter of Grand Rapids. He recently completed the Pacific Crest Trail. Congratulations to Chris Hillier for completing the Superior Hiking Trail in Minnesota and the Arizona Trail as well. And although she hasn't finished yet, Joan Young is over 3,000 miles into her North Country Trail hike. She is currently in Wisconsin, headed east. She started at her home near Manistee last fall and is doing a flip-flop. So she ended in Vermont, and then she made her way out to North Dakota and started hiking again. You can follow her at her blog, which is myqualityday.blogspot.com. Also, she's been posting on some of the hiking Facebook pages as well. And don't fret, folks. I'm going to have the transcript of this put into my Substack. So if you miss a website or something like that, you can find it in my Substack. So do you know of anyone who has accomplished a great hiking feat? Drop me a line, and we will give them a message and kudos as well. All right, recipe of the week, or creative cooking, as some of you call it. Myself, my philosophy is 3 ingredients, and one of them is salt, and the other one is water. I know there's a lot of folks out there that get really creative when they cook, when they're backpacking. I get creative when I'm camping. I don't want to carry all this stuff when I'm backpacking. One cool thing that I do that a lot of people I've noticed don't do this. They'll bring powdered butter with them, or they'll bring margarine in a bottle. What I do is I bring olive oil in place of butter, and I keep it in a metal bottle with a screw top. And that has done me well. I use it when I make my macaroni and cheese. So I got water, I got macaroni, I got the cheese packet, and I dump some olive oil in there, and it's great. You gotta try it at home. It's really good. So oil in place of butter, olive oil specifically. So if you have an idea you'd like to share, let me know, and we'll see if we can get it on the podcast. Another popular segment with this podcast is the snow report and trail conditions and bug report. Well, since we're in the fall, we're not going to worry about bugs. Trail conditions are mostly where we find outages and things like that. And then snow report is snow depth across the state of Michigan. A great resource for the North Country Trail is their actual trail planner. They highlight trail problems, and you can click on a little icon and it can tell you what's going on. And I like to tell folks about the snow depth. You may recall we had a little snowstorm in the Upper Peninsula a couple weeks ago. There was upwards of 2 feet of snow out by Michigami. It has all melted. There is no snow covering the ground currently in Michigan. So, as we go through the winter, it'll be mostly snow reports. And then when spring rolls around, we'll start doing trail conditions and bug reports. So I like doing snow reports because a lot of folks live downstate and they like to go to the UP, all times of the year, which is fine. In the wintertime, I think we all know to bring snowshoes with us. But what happens is in the spring, when the snow's all melted down here for a couple months, people have it in their head that they can drive the UP and, lollygag through the woods when there's still 2, 3, 4 feet of snow on the ground in March and April and even into May. So that's why I like doing these trail reports and talking about snow, to give people an idea of what the conditions are like. All right, segment called In Search Of. One of the nice things about going for hikes is looking for wildlife. Also avoiding certain plants and animals. And in Michigan, we have poisonous plants, those that you can eat and get sick and die. And we have others that if you touch, you get rashes. And I think you know where we're going with this. Poison oak, poison sumac, and poison ivy. I recently did a whole podcast on these 3 plants. And I did a YouTube video as well, and it's on my Substack if you want to read about it, about the differences between these plants. So go on over and check them out. And I'll give you the 10-second version. There's actually 4 species. There's 1 poison oak, 1 poison sumac, and 2 species of poison ivy in Michigan. But it's important to note there is no poison oak in Michigan. End of story. Don't argue with me. There is no poison oak in Michigan. We do have poison sumac, but it does not grow in your yard. It grows in swamps, in deep swamps. And there are 2 species of poison ivy. You can go over to the Substack, the YouTube, and the other podcast to learn a little bit more about where it lives and what it looks like. So, is there something that you would like to know where to find? Common requests that I've had in the past: moose. Where can I see a moose? And I always say the Minnesota Zoo is your best chance. I have only seen moose 1 time in the Upper Peninsula. I've seen them on Isle Royale, but I really don't count that. But 1 time, there's people who live their entire lives in the UP, never seen a moose. But there's something you want to see: an ermine, a Kirtland warbler, whatever. Let us know. I certainly can research that. I am a wildlife biologist, familiar with Michigan's wildlife, so I'll figure it out and get you some information. All right, so Almost Forgotten Trail. So before my life got turned upside down, I was working on a book project about historical water routes, portages, and hiking trails in the Great Lakes. And the working title is Almost Forgotten Paddles, Portages, and Pathways of the Western Great Lakes. And I've created some podcast content, which you can find archived at Tom's Trail Tales. For example, did you know that Europeans discovered Michigan before Plymouth Rock? Yes, they did. Head on over to check out the content on my archived podcasts. And that one would be under the heading of Etienne Brule, Brule. And if you listen all the way to the end, he had an interesting death. And that's all I'll even say about that, is check it out. You'll be mortified or surprised, or one or the other, or both. All right, so what I'll do here is highlight a forgotten trail and let you know where you can learn more. A book out there, my podcast, YouTube, or Substack. So I usually do a podcast, YouTube, or Substack first, and I'll mention it here is what I'll do. Another segment is, I call it This Week in Facebook. On the various Facebook pages, if you're not familiar, the largest one that I'm familiar with is Michigan Hiking and Backpacking. Another one is West Michigan Hiking and Backpacking. There's also Hiking Michigan's Upper Peninsula and Northern Michigan Hiking and Backpacking. And these are places to share and ask questions. And they'll post events and things like that. But one page I want to mention that very few people know about, and it's actually a very cool page, and it's called the Trail Angels of the North Country Trail. They only have about 1,300 members, and this page is designed to arrange rides and other logistics for those that are section hiking the North Country Trail. I myself have section hiked well over 2,000 miles of the North Country Trail, and I'm telling you, it's a hassle. I hate doubling back. I don't like hitchhiking, but, spotting cars, getting picked up, dropped off, all that stuff. You can put out a request on this page, and you'll be surprised at how quickly you can get some help. I once helped a dude out with a section hike between the Maher Sanctuary and Middleville in Berry County, and it gave me an excuse to hike at the Maher Sanctuary after I dropped them off. So go on over and check it out. Trail Angels of the North Country Trail. All right, trail calendar. In the wintertime, not much going on. There is a Michigan Hiking and Backpacking group hike led by Bunny McMuffin on November 13th at the Pontiac Lake Equestrian Trailhead. I'm not 100% sure on the time. I live in a different time zone. It was telling me 7 p.m. I think it's 11 a.m. for you guys, but go to the Michigan Hiking and Backpacking group page and you register there as well. It's a free hike, but they like to know who's coming, so go on over there and check it out and get the correct time on the page. All right, and guess what? It is gonna be time for the permit report. So let's get a little groovy here. Listen to a little Adam Main. Right, there you go. Permit report. So, what is the permit report? Well, there are places in Michigan where on hiking adventures and backpacking adventures, you need to have a permit to hike and or camp in some of the areas in the state of Michigan. And the most popular one is probably Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore in the Upper Peninsula. And their reservation system opens on January 1st for the 2023 season. And that's at recreation.gov. And I strongly recommend, if you've never used recreation.gov, go in there and check it out. It's a government website. It's clunky. Doesn't make a lot of sense. And there's nothing worse than going into the system and not getting what you need because you can't find it. Go in there and just mess around, monkey around, and figure it out. That way you'll be ready to go on January 1st because those get snarfed up real quick. Another popular place, Grand Island. Reservations open on November 26th on recreation.gov. The Porcupine Mountain Wilderness State Park reservations for backcountry campsites. This is, I think, the third or fourth year in a row now where you can't just show up to a campsite anymore there. You have to have a reservation, and you can do them online, and those are being accepted now through October of 2023. And I went into the system and looked, and there's tons of availability, of course. The thing is the state parks used to only let you book 6 months out. Now they're letting you do a year out at Porcupine Mountains anyways. So if you're interested and know your dates, get in there and get your reservations. And then Tequamanon Falls, the North Country Trail goes through there, and they do have backcountry sites, but you can't make those reservations online. They say you have to do it in person, but I'll give you a little insider information. Rumor is that you can make a phone call to the park and make arrangements. So keep that in mind. Now, the thing is, if you hike into the modern campground at Tequamanon and they're full and they're booked and you want a campsite, they are obligated to find you a place to camp. And that actually happened to me once. I hiked in, they were full, they stuck me in the campground. Or, excuse me, they stuck me in the campground, of course, but it was at the playground. So I camped next to the big old metal slide once. And this was a long time ago, but they're obligated to do that, and you may have to remind them of that if this actually happens to you. So state parks, no stealth camping, no dispersed camping. Just don't do it. Make your reservations for these state parks. All right, so we're getting close to the end here. Now that we've got the trail report out of the way, let's get out and do some hiking. The weather forecast looks great. Marquette, dry and highs in the low 50s and low 60s, for crying out loud. That is some great weather. Get up there and do something. In Grand Rapids, it's also going to be dry. Highs in the upper 50s to mid 60s, which is just awesome, awesome weather. So get on out and hike and enjoy the trails. All right. So again, thank you to our sponsor, Nortive 8. Hey, are you interested in sponsoring a show? Check out my Patreon account, and it's called Tom's Trail Tales. And you can make a contribution there, and I'll give you a plug. The first person that becomes a patron there at any level, I will send you a copy of my book, 50 Hikes in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. All right? First person, I don't care what, if you give $1, I'll send you the book. All right? So be the first person to do that, and I'll send you a signed copy of the book. All right, we're getting closer to the end, and I like to end with a quote and just a reminder of some other places you can find more content. And let's do a quote here. Returning home is the most difficult part of a long-distance hike. You've grown outside the puzzle and your piece no longer fits. That's by Cindy Ross. I think I know what she means there. So, thanks for joining us. Make sure to follow us. Here at Tom's Trail Tales, I have a lot of people listening to these podcasts. Not many people subscribing. Click the subscribe button. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. You'll be notified. You're not going to get tons of junk or anything like that from me. It's just, please, just subscribe. It's easy. Other ways you can learn about hiking here in Michigan, some other things I have. I'm on TikTok, Tom's Worldly Adventures. Also YouTube and Instagram, Tom's Worldly Adventures. Substack is thomasfunk.substack.com. You can be my friend at All Trails. Just look for Thomas Funk. And the Patreon account is patreon.com/TomFunk. And that's funk with an E on the end. All right. Well, that was fun. Thanks for joining me today. And thanks again to Adam Main for providing the music. And just like that, we're out.